Welcome to Season 7 of Paper Talk,
where we share stories about growing and thriving in your creative business.
I'm Quynh Nguyen of Pinkham Hosey.
I'm Jessie Chu of Crafted to Bloom.
And I'm Sarah Kim of Handmade by Sarah Kim.
In this season, we want to explore the evolution of an artist's journey and the growth and struggle of having a business.
Plus, we'll chat with other entrepreneurs and artists to uncover their keys to success.
So get ready to unlock the potential in your creative journey with us.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Paper Talk. Today, we have a really special guest. This is my mentor, my mastermind coach. This is Lauren V. Davis of Lauren Davis Creative. I'm so excited to introduce you to her because she has been a critical part in the past year of me joining her mastermind and learning really to dial in my personal brand. It's been really amazing meeting with her, meeting with the group of people that I meet every single month. Lauren, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you actually became Lauren Davis Creative, and how did you focus on personal branding?
Oh my goodness. So it's a unique background story. When I was 19 years old, I started a vinyl record store with my former partner at the time. And I was 19, so I was really too green to quit or to know when to quit. So there was probably plenty of times that if I was in my brain space now, I would have been like, this is probably not worth it. Right. But in the early days, right, there was those times that, I when we realized, okay, we only need to make $60 a day to just at least pay the rent and keep the lights on. And we'll be open 7 days a week, So calculating those types of situations and working part-time to fund the business. And I basically started getting really into marketing and learning what makes somebody want, and this is 2006 to 2008. So it was during a recession, not a lot of people spending discretionary income. And I had to really figure out what makes people tick and what makes people want to be loyal to a business, what makes people want this business to be legendary or want it to be a local staple? What makes people want to come in time and time again, even when it's something that they don't really need, right? It's not like a toilet paper or eggs. It's something that they just want to buy to have fun with or to give them entertainment or to make them feel full of life. And so I started leaning into marketing and graphic design and personal branding and learning kind of the psychology about how things communicate. And I started telling our story from the ground up and using our little unique things about us and about the owners of the business to build the business. And so around 2010, people started asking me, how are you doing this? I had gone back to school for it and everything. And I was learning everything I could about it. But really, the best education I got was real world experience running that store and building it from the ground up. When 2010 came around, people were asking me, how are you getting people in? How are you getting national press and local press and media appearances? And how can you help us do the same thing? And so I started leaning into that a little bit more and kind of building my own mold of how was I doing it, identifying the key principles and the key aspects and frameworks of how I was doing it. And so that led me to do two things. It led me to start a non-for-profit for local businesses at the time with a bunch of other amazing local businesses in town. We kind of came together and built this non-for-profit and helped local businesses market themselves and learn how to take that into their own hands. And then also started my own marketing and personal branding consultancy. So people who wanted a little more one-on-one help and who wanted to build their personal brands and be very authentic and very aligned while doing so, but also being a little strategic so they could make money and create a business that they really love and a life that they really love. I started this consultancy so I could help those people as well. And so since 2010, I co-ran that record store until 2021. And since then, I've been full-time in my own personal branding and consultancy. I've left the record store at this time, but now I work one-on-one with people all the time. I host a couple of wonderful masterminds, one of them, which Quynh mentioned, that I love. I love bringing entrepreneurs together and having those magical moments where everyone is helping each other and talking to each other and sharing their own unique perspectives. And I just love connecting people and being the conduit to other people's success and seeing everything that they can do when they have the information that they need.
How did you meet Mike Kim? Because that's how I first met you.
Like, I met him at a conference, actually. He was speaking at a conference, and I took a few pictures of him while he was on stage. And I mean, the thing about speakers, I work a lot with speakers and people who have written books and people who want to be more visible. And so I kind of have a little bit of a good idea of like what pictures look good from stage, right? Like how to make it look like there's a ton of people and there hundreds of people in the room. And he had a packed room anyway, but I went to his talk and I saw him speak and I was just like, God, this is such a good talk. And so I took a few good pictures of him, put him on Instagram on my stories. And I said, this talk was so life-giving. I don't know what I said. I said something like really nice, complimentary. And then he messaged me. I was like, hey, I don't have any pictures of myself speaking. Do you have any more of those? And I was like, yeah, I do actually. I have like a bunch. So I sent him a bunch of pictures. And that really honestly started our friendship. Like from there, I was in his mastermind for a long time, actually. I was like one of the longest running members of his mastermind. I took a break from his mastermind for a minute when I got divorced, but I will be back for sure. He's honestly one of my greatest friends, greatest supporters. And I would say that I learned so much from him about how to be a really good facilitator in groups because he wants his ceiling to be our floor. Like anyone that is in his groups, he wants his ceiling to be our floor. And I really believe that he truly does want that for people in his groups. And so I find it so inspiring. And truly, I think about that a lot when I'm working with my own groups and sharing information with my own groups. Like I really want to see them succeed and I want them to brag. I say in our groups, like I want people to brag about their successes and brag about all the things they're doing because so often entrepreneurs don't get that opportunity to say like, oh my gosh, look at this thing I did and have everyone cheer for you. We're always kind of, or not, I shouldn't speak for everyone, but a lot of times I know that some people say, I don't want to brag or I don't want to sound too conceited or like say, what will people think if I post this or what will people, and I want our groups to be that opportunity for you to find community among entrepreneurs who are all lifting you up and saying, yeah, like, heck yeah, go you.
Yeah, definitely. And Lauren does such a great job on having people brag without sounding braggy, if I can say that. And it's just a great way to kind of like, because as a lot of entrepreneurs, we all work by ourselves and we're constantly like having to pat our own back. Like, yes, I did that, but it's not quite the same. And when you have a room full of people that are cheering you on and they're cheering you on very positively, which is so wonderful. And it's so affirming to like, yes, I'm on my path to greatness. And it's wonderful to have that group of people there.
As an entrepreneur, you don't get like performance reviews or you don't get the manager meeting where they tell you like, oh, you're doing a great job or we want to accelerate you. You just like kind of have to feel into it and you have to trust that you're doing a good job or receive feedback or ask for feedback from other people. And so that's why having those mastermind groups and community groups like that are so nice.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it. I was like wondering why I am in mastermind group. And I feel like that just hit all the points for me because I am working by myself all the time and to be able to meet with other people that could be in the same level, a little bit above me, behind me. And it's all about us all helping each other and growing. Because if you don't have that environment, you can't change, you can't grow, you can't educate yourself and push yourself to be the better version of you to your audience.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So I've never been in a mastermind group. What should I expect if I did join one?
So so that's the thing about masterminds is like I feel like that word even is so vague and I don't even like the word mastermind because it makes it seem like there's someone like there's some, I don't know, feels weird. It feels like I don't know. Like I just imagine like an evil villain in a cartoon or something. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, that's why it's confusing. So there's like, so there's that nuance of what do I call it? But I'm in personal branding. I'm a very big advocate for using plain language. And even though mastermind doesn't sound like plain language, in the entrepreneurship space, there is a certain level of understanding of what that is. So that's why I call it a mastermind, because I want people to have some basic level of understanding of what it is. But let me explain it from the side of more of like the creative spaces. Like, I don't know that as many of these exist inside those spaces. So let me explain it in this way. There's no set of rules of like how these should be run. It's not like run by some organization and then you become a mastermind coach or something. There's no education. So it's very much subjective to whoever's running it. So I would say the first thing that you should do is make sure that you feel very aligned with the person who's running it, and that you would feel proud to stand up next to the person that's running it, or to stand by the person that's running it. Because I have also been in masterminds before where I'm like, I don't quite agree with this person and how they view the world. And then I had to like ask myself, like, well, why am I in this? You know, like I need to get out. So make sure that whoever is running this, you kind of agree with how they run their business, how they show up in the world, what their values are, what their messaging is. And every mastermind is run different. So mine are run in a way where I gather people, I have them do updates. I set some expectations up front about how they should show up in the group. I set expectations, a little bit of expectations about attendance even, because I want people to show up for each other, not because of me, but I need them to show up to help each other. Mm-hmm. And then after updates, we do some level of hot seating or like brainstorming. So we have a couple different sessions where people get to brainstorm different topics that they're working on, that they're challenged by. Sometimes Quynh can attest to this, like sometimes they become more personal in nature. Sometimes they're businessy in nature. And in my groups, because it is a personal branding one, a lot of them are more about business. But as we were talking about, it can be sometimes very isolating to be an entrepreneur doing it on your own. And so sometimes you do need to like run something personal by the group. Like, how the heck do you stay on top of your time management? Or how I can't figure out how to be a single mom and also be this is, things that have come up. I can't figure out how to be a single mom and be a solo entrepreneur and be everything to everyone at the same time. How do you do it? Mm-hmm. And so we get to brainstorm these for a set amount of time. We go through a couple different ways of brainstorming and hot seating. And then we really kind of work on some takeaways at the end. We choose, some people say this is not a mastermind when you teach something, because a mastermind is the masterminding of a bunch of different brains together. But I do like to take like a 10 minutes or 12 minutes at the end and teach something new to the people in the group. Sometimes it's review for some people in the group. Sometimes it's new for some people in the group. But I find that having that lesson to take away, it helps me know that I'm helping other people move the needle forward for themselves. And so that's something that I do inside my groups. Now, every group is different. There are groups that I've been in before where there's 30 people in a group and you do like roses and thorns, like highlight some highs and lows of your business. And then you raise your hand for a hot seat, or you sign up for a hot seat ahead of time, something like that. So it's different depending on who you are and what kind of group you're running. There's no actual set guidelines or rules of how a mastermind should be run, but that's how I run my masterminds. Keep it to like 12 people or less. So that way everyone has a chance, everyone has the ability to chime in and chat and have their own hot seats and be intentional with their answers.
I love that you assign hot seats to people instead of having people volunteer, because I feel like when you ask people to volunteer, it's a very slow thing coming.
Yeah.
But also when you assign it, you're like, okay, you got to show up, you got to do this because you're paying for it, and you're really having to focus and think, okay, my hot seat's coming up next week. What problem am I having right now? How can the group help me move forward or solve a problem? And I find that so beneficial when I do have a particular question. And even if I don't have a hot seat, you do have a messaging channel where you can put the question out to the group. And one thing I really love what you do is you open it up to the other people in the group, because you run multiple groups at the same time. And I would say that it was really nice being able to like meet other people in the group, because you also bring really great guests in where you open it up to your entire group so you can get to see who are everyone else in the other groups. And that was really eye-opening to find.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So yeah, I bring an expert speaker into my groups every couple of months to just talk and share their expertise, because I have had the pleasure and privilege of meeting so many amazing, talented speakers or working with speakers over the last, decade. And I want to share their knowledge too. I want that to be a big perk for joining my mastermind, is that they get access to those speakers just like I do. So I do bring expert speakers. And then what Quynh is talking about is in our community channel where people connect and chat with each other. I have a couple private groups. So I have a private group for each of my masterminds. And then I also have a channel where it is all of the groups. So everyone from both groups can come in and chat with each other, get to know each other, and know that they're all in kind of the same community, but like a little bit of a different community. So it's been nice because sometimes every once in a while, someone's schedule changes, they need to switch groups, and I can switch them to the other groups or one of the other groups, and people still feel like they kind of know each other already and they've already been connecting a little bit. Or it's a great place to source information from a bigger group if you need a bigger perspective.
I'm just waiting, Lauren, when you actually do in-person conference, what Mike Kim did, because I feel like when you do gather people and they get to meet face to face, it's a total game changer because you really get to deeper connect.
I can't wait. We're going to be doing that definitely in 2025.
Yes.
Just stay tuned. Yeah. It's going to be great.
Yes. If you guys haven't joined a group of something like this, where the Mastermind, I agree. Mastermind is such a weird tone to say what we actually do because it's not really about Lauren telling us what to do. It's about us presenting what kind of situation we're in, what kind of problem, and collectively as a group together, we kind of help each other. And it's so wonderful. And I find I think that's the reason why I keep going to these mastermind, because I want to find my people that can help level my game up. And I'm such an advocate for not looking inside your industry, but looking outside of your industry to find out what other people are doing, because you can always, and I always say, like in our paper flower techniques, I'm constantly stealing ideas from watercolors, from even Cricut silhouette cutting machines like templates, and also learning about how to do so many different things. And I feel like we can apply that concept with learning from other people. And digital marketing is such a broad term. And I think that's how I first discovered Mike, and then I discovered Lauren. And it's been such an amazing journey on trying to create my personal branding, which I feel like our audience needs so much, because our audience is about single moms. They're about people switching careers from tech, from other different industry. And a lot of people don't know how it is to market. And I think a lot of people think that if they make it, people will find you. And it's mainly friends and family that discover you first. But how do you gather your people that will love your product? And I think that's where Lauren's expertise comes in, where she really hones you in and talk about the different skills that you'll need to actually be able to tell your story. And I think a lot of people don't get that opportunity to tell their story very much. So Lauren, my question to you is, what are some tips you can give to our audience on doing that perfect elevator pitch when you have only a few minutes, when you meet somebody new? What can you help them frame the story work that they can practice at home, so that way when they go out and talk to other people, that they do an amazing job?
Ooh, this is such a good question, because I have such a conflicted view on it. So I think that sometimes people get very caught up in having the perfect words for their elevator speech.
Yes.
And they come up with this magical language that is like, I help authentic, thought-driven, heart-centered entrepreneur make 7 figures, having an aligned lifestyle and embodied. I'm like, what are you saying? What are you saying? I don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad because I want to know what they do. Like, I really want to know what they do. And it's so perfectly curated that the words don't even make sense anymore. So my biggest tip is use plain language. Like, for an example I give is I worked with a speaker who, if you saw him speak, you would be like, that's a motivational speaker. He did not like the words motivational speaker. And I understand that, right? So what we kind of came up with on his website, like one of the first things on his speaker page is, I am not your average motivational speaker. Because what people were going to be looking for when they're looking for a talk like his is they're looking for a motivational speaker. We needed to include the language that people will use to connect the dots in their head of what you do, of what he did. But I didn't want him to feel out of alignment with who he is. If he doesn't feel like he's a motivational speaker and he doesn't like those words, I don't want him to say, I'm a motivational speaker and hate that. So we came up with the idea of okay, how can we still use those keywords? How can that still be picking up SEO, but use it in a way that still makes him feel aligned with who he is? When you're talking about what you do, use the most plain language possible. Remember that most people read at a 4th grade reading level. And that to make it accessible to people, for all people to understand, you have to use words that everyone understands. That's my first tip, right? Yeah. The second tip is when I am meeting someone new and I'm networking with someone new, I know that I make a much greater impression when I ask them questions first. When I ask them questions, and I'm not just asking 3 questions that I came up with that I'm going to ask them every single person, but I ask them a question, I listen to their answer, and then I actually truly dive in on something else that they just said. I ask them another question about what they just said. Then they share something else with me. And whatever I find interesting about what they just shared with me, I ask them a question about that. And I'm not talking basic, vague questions. I'm talking about actually having conversations with people. By the time you're done asking someone 3 questions, they feel very seen and very heard. And they are going to remember that conversation. I would say that this is something that happened with me and Quynh and why we're friends today, because we had a conversation like that, where we both went way deep on both of what we do really fast, not fast, over a whole lunch. We basically didn't talk to anyone else the entire lunch, even though we were sitting at a group with like 15 people, talked all about what we do and what we like and what we help people with. And then at the end of that conversation, we were like friends, and we're never going to not be friends now. And I think that that's the most important thing to remember, is that we are all human beings. We're not just like leads and numbers and customers. We're all real human beings behind our personal brands, and we all already have a personal brand. So how are you showing up in person, online? That is truly who you are as a person. That is how I think you really make an impression on someone. And once you're done asking them those couple of questions, all they want to know is about you. They're like, who is this person who actually gives a crap about me? I want to know, because everything is so fast paced and moving at such a crazy speed that there's not many people taking the time to do that anymore. That would be my biggest tip.
Yeah, those are fantastic.
Love that. Yeah. I feel like I'm going to have to use that all the time. I'm always, it's funny because I'm the introvert. So even when I go to networking events, it's so hard for me to have my elevator speech versus to even ask questions, because I'm like blank. But
it takes the pressure off of you to have your elevator speech, to be able to just ask some questions. And you can just start with, what do you do? Which people are already expecting you to ask that. So you don't have to worry about that. And then when they say that, be like, tell me more about that. What do you mean by this? Let them kind of talk about it and then ask them the follow-up questions. I am an introvert, like through and through. I freeze. You would never believe it, but I have spent my life freezing in social situations, and I'm not the shiny star that walks into the room. But now, because of this, I know everybody, and I know them so well that I could introduce them to somebody else, or I could bring them together or have a luncheon or something like that.
And that's a huge asset in itself. Yeah. I feel like that's amazing. I wanted to ask Quynh, do you have an elevator speech? Like, do you have a way to like introduce yourself to other people?
That's a very interesting question, because I kind of do a medium between what Lauren has talked about to something that has evolved around my elevator pitch. So when people after we have the conversation, and I do focus my conversation on them first, and they always turn around and ask me like, so what do you do? I was like, well, I'm a paper artist. I mainly focus on paper flowers, but let me show you my Instagram account, because I feel like my work speaks mainly what I do. And of course, I show my Instagram account because it's kind of my portfolio of what I've been doing. But I've been noticing that as I have followed the Instagram algorithm of using a lot more videos, it doesn't really portray exactly what I'm doing, because I'm trying to market myself to reach my target audience, which is kind of different from a portfolio. So I've kind of switched it a little bit. Instead of showing them my Instagram account, I actually show them a curated iPhone album that I can like progressively show them on my different types of work, my book, of course, but it's evolved over time, because you can't make it and let it sit there. You have to like change it all the time, update it just like your Instagram. And I try to do that maybe once a quarter and update all my different works. And if I need to show something really critical, I will jump over to Instagram and show them something that's more relevant to our conversation. So you just have to be ready with who you're talking to. Are they more on an Instagram? Are they more what I'm marketing right now versus what a more broad sense where I can actually show them like a static photo, an image, and we can talk about some of the different things.
That's such a great idea.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that in our previous episode, that you did have was that a life hack? I feel like it was. To have an album. Yeah. Yeah. I've been utilizing it more too because of you, because I'm like, well, and I think Jesse even brought up like having like a notes app and like kind of putting your thoughts into it. So like I've been trying to like keep it more organized, if that makes sense. So organizing like your photos to be specific to when you bring it up to people and things like that. Mm-hmm. But like, I feel like Quynh, you're like a very confident person. So I would think you do best in person. But I know that like Lauren said, like, I feel like Lauren does marketing like outside of in person, or no? Is it the marketing in person only, or is it like branding? Because I think you mentioned digital branding, right?
Yeah, I help a lot of people show up the same way they would show up in real life on their social media, on their websites, in their visibility online. So whether that is their free resource, like their email list. Well, that's the thing. I think that's the thing that is so easily forgotten, is that we feel like social media or online, it has to be very different from in person, or it needs to be faster, or like, you know, you're going to launch this product and then people are just going to buy it. And it's really just we're the same people behind our devices, right? That we are in person. So it doesn't have to be different. It just has to be really be you. And what I mean by that is I sometimes see people try to create this perfectly curated version of themselves online, but it doesn't translate to how they're showing up in direct messages, or how they're showing up when someone comments on their post, or they're so worried about how they look. You know, I've had people say, do you think I should promote this speaking event, you know, more than once before I go to it? Because what if it looks like I'm just like a newbie speaker? I'm like, who cares what it looks like? You get to speak. That's the thing that you've been wanting all year, is that you get to speak at this event. Of course you should talk about it. Of course you should. And not only that, it shows the conference organizer how much you care about their event. They're going to want to have you back, and they're going to brag about you to other conference organizers. So I think that people sometimes get really caught up in like curating the most best perceived look versus building a life and business that they want, and building something sustainable, a business that's sustainable, and then bringing their true self through all of the things they do online, through their posts, through their stories, through their reels, through their LinkedIn articles, through their TikToks, like all of that. I think it can be very uniquely you, and it is the same as online. So if you think about when someone's at a networking event and they hand you a business card and they pitch you and then they walk away, you really just don't want to talk to them ever again, probably. Or at least that's how I feel, you know?
Yes.
And then that's kind of like the same thing as, you know, the LinkedIn messages you get where someone like is immediately pitching you without ever saying anything to you or having a conversation with you. That's what I feel like is that business card bro that shoves the business card in your face and what, you know? And then there's the person at the networking event or the conference that comes up to you and says, like, asks you a very engaging question that they've been practicing. Just one question. And as you're answering, they're looking over your shoulder to see who else is in the room that's more important than you. And they're not even listening. And you could like say something really, really wacky and they would not even notice because they're totally zoned out and not listening, right? I feel like that's the same as those questions that show up online that are purely for engagement. Like, serious question, guys, burgers or pizza, you know? And like people are answering or whatever, but no one's ever going to be like, you know what? I really trust Lauren because she really wanted to know my answer about burgers or pizza. You know, it's just for engagement. It's not like it builds no trust or anything. But then there's the third situation where you go to an event, you go to a conference, you meet with somebody and you're connecting with them. And like Quynh and I did at that lunch, and we're like chatting about life. We're cheersing over a margarita and we're saying like, oh my gosh, this is like such a great conversation. And then we look each other up online, we follow each other, and then like months go down the road, and then we have a conversation, we email back and forth a few times, and then we decide to work together. in some capacity. It works. That is how it works online too. You have to make these little connection touch points and create relationships with people, build trust with people online, just the same as you would in real life. And if it feels disconnected online, and if it feels like icky or weird, or if it feels not like you to be online or to create things online, it might be because how you're showing up online isn't aligned to how you would show up in real life. And if you think about it that way, and you think about like, how can I be truly myself online and really show people myself and let people love me the same way that they would love me in real life? If you can show up online in that way, you'll have a much better experience yourself. You'll like being online a lot more. You'll like being more visible online more if you can show up authentically as you, and you'll have a better, it takes a little bit longer than what you think is supposed to happen, but you'll have a much better experience actually getting to know people, and you'll have real relationships at the end of it. And that's kind of how I teach and what I preach. And you know what? I don't have as many followers as like some of the big influencers, but I can tell you, if I look through my follower list, I know so many of these people. I've had conversations with so many of these people. I have had more than just like a comment back and forth, but like actually intentional conversations. Many of them have bought from me. Many of them have joined my groups, and I have a sustainable business that I really, truly love. I don't dread any part of my business. And that is all that I can ask for. And I have a very beautiful life, and it's peaceful and wonderful and happy. And that's what we all want.
Yes, I love this.
That's my rant about being online.
Yes, as a creative, it's so hard to show up online every single day thinking you're just coming in the abyss and nobody's responding back. But you're right. When you do have these conversations online and have intimate conversations in the DMs, it changes the game. It makes me come back because I know that my friend there is waiting for my reply, continuing a conversation, or I can drop something. And it's just really, it makes it fun again. And I love that.
Yeah.
Yep. Lauren, thank you so much for being on this particular podcast. I want to end our episode with our fun little thing that we're doing this season is life hacks. Can you tell us a really fun life hack that you can share with our audience?
Can it be about anything, or does it have to be about business?
Anything. Do a personal one. Do an organizing hack. We've done a cleaning hack, which I have to say, ever since we talked about cleaning, I've been vacuuming every single day, and it's really a game changer. Yes.
Okay. One of my, oh my gosh, I have so many random things that come up in my brain. Do you like hard-boiled eggs?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I do too.
Great.
You know how annoying it is to like peel the egg off, the shell off? So if you have to carefully do it, but if you kind of like click your egg with a spoon and break the membrane before you boil them, the shell comes off like so easily. Have you ever tried this?
Yes, I have. I love it.
Okay. I've never tried it.
Okay, but I can't figure out how to do it, but my partner can do it. So now, unfortunately for them, they have been put on a hard-boiled egg duty because I can't do it without breaking the shell. But you basically take a spoon, you just tap it against the egg and the shell. You tap it against there and you'll hear a little pop, and then the membrane to the shell breaks, and then you put it in the pot, you do the boiling, and then it's like the shell just like peels right off. It's magic.
But you're
can
not
contest
cracking
to that.
the egg? Yeah, you're not cracking the egg?
No, you just kind of tap it, and then you'll hear a little pop, and that then you know that you've broken the membrane. Look it up. It's wild. It's wild.
So you tap it, and you hear it be solid, 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 and then you hear the tone, because you're a musician, Sarah. So you'll hear it change its chord, and you'll hear and that's when you stop. And that's when you know you've broken the membrane. It's great.
Okay, for lunch.
I know.
Yes.
My other life hack, and maybe this is weird, but this is another personal one, is that dishwashers, even older ones, you need to scrape your food off of your plate. Like, don't put food into but you don't need to like fully rinse off your dishes, because all dishwashers have a sensor that sense if the dish is clean or dirty. So if you spend your time washing off most of your dishes and then put them in the dishwasher, there's a big chance that your dishes will come out not being as clean as you want them to be, even though you've already done the work of rinsing them off, because the sensor is picking up that it's not a dirty load and it doesn't need to work as hard. So put it in with the a little bit of like whatever is on the plate. Don't work too hard at hand rinsing it before putting it in the dishwasher. Stick it in the dishwasher and your dishes will come out pretty clean every time.
Can I add another tip on top of that?
Yeah, so splashing some vinegar in there too.
Oh, actually, no. So one thing you want to do is run your hot water on your faucet. Make sure it's running super hot before you turn on your dishwasher, because because what it does, the water will spray it and hot water will release all that, dry food, the sauce into that sensitivity piece basket. And that will tell it's like, it's a super dirty load and it will run better.
Ah, that's great. Okay. Good to know.
Yes.
Yeah. I have an older dishwasher and I'm sure that I would change it only for the fact of I want to be more eco-friendly. And I know older dishwashers use a little more water, but man, it works so good. It's really hard to convince myself to buy a new one when it works so well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just love tips like that. I could share a million business tips, but that's one of the ones I wanted to share.
I love it. Jesse, how about you? What tip do you have for us this week?
So after my full body checkup, my doctor was telling me that I have too much iron in my blood, but for whatever reason, but I still need protein. So I've been adding a lot of protein powder into my coffee in the morning. And I find that because I have coffee in the morning anyways, and I put, cream in it, it's just easy for me to put that protein and also collagen in there. And I don't taste it. And so it's like, it's become a habit, because the hardest thing is actually to make, eating your pills in the morning or whatever it might be into a habit. And so because I do coffee already, I just have everything on the side and I just like dump it in, stir it up, and I don't really notice it because it's hot, I guess. The coffee's hot, but that's the way I've been getting my collagen and my protein powder in without it being like a shake or without putting it into like yogurt or something. I just kind of incorporate it into my existing habits, just to make it easier. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing.
I'm sorry to ride on to your thing. Can I add a little something extra that I've been doing too? So at Costco, they have the Dairy Gold protein shake. That's chocolate, but it's lactose free and it has 32 grams of protein. So I add that into my coffee instead of my creamer or my milk. So it's been a great game changer for me for adding extra protein in the morning.
Extra protein and taste, I guess, a little bit different.
Yes. And it doesn't taste like it doesn't taste like a protein shake. I think it does have less protein than other protein shake, but it's 32 gram. I'm not going to like shy away from that, but it's been great. And it tastes like a chocolate milk versus a protein shake. That's a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
Look it up in Costco. It's the Dairy Gold one. Tastes really, really good. Sarah, what life hack do you have with us this week?
I feel like I have to do something food related just to
keep it on theme.
Yeah. One of my favorite, I don't know if it's a life hack, but one of my favorite things to do is we do s'mores, but in the toaster. So I used to do it in the air fryer, but I feel like it was like flying all over the place. So I do graham crackers, some Hershey, like little pieces, and then throw some marshmallows on top, but you do it in the toaster and it comes out like perfect. So you do it for a few, maybe like less than a minute before the marshmallow starts burning too much. And it's like way better than doing s'mores at a campfire, I feel like. So try it in the toaster.
The toaster.
Cool. Nice. I love that. So my food hack this week, since everyone's doing food.
I know, we're all doing.
I know. So if you make a lot of, I would say stock, I would say soak your meats that have bones. So not chicken, but like pork or beef. Soak it in cold water for about an hour, rinse it out, and then cook your meats, your stock, and your water will be a lot more cleaner because all the blood, all the minerals that will be extracted outside of the water. And it just makes it a lot easier to do.
It's a great tip. I love making stock too. So
yes,
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
I've been using it because I've been watching all these Korean grandmothers soak all their meats.
I was about to say Koreans do that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's too much work.
It is a lot of work.
I just buy the packet, pre-made packet.
I'm cutting all the vegetables. So I just let it soak while I'm cutting all my vegetables, getting everything prepped. And then that really helps me like, okay, it's good enough. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very cool. Yeah. I love that.
Lauren, thank you so much for joining us this week. We really enjoy having you on here and so many amazing, great tips on this particular episode.
Yeah, I learned so much about masterminds.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time and energy and such great questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye.